Well, to unpack this issue, I'm now joined by Guy Martin, editor at Defenceweb. Guy, appreciate your time this afternoon. So let's talk about the primary objective of deploying over 3,000 soldiers to deal with these Zama problem.
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. So this deployment of 3,300 troops is in addition to what was, follows on from what was previously announced. President Cyril Ramaphosa had about 900 soldiers previously allocated towards anti-crime operations. But having 3,000 soldiers doesn't mean that those soldiers are available all the time. So it's a bit misleading to say there's 3,300 troops available, because obviously they can't work 24/7. So you maybe have 1,000 available at any one time. Now, the other problem with deploying the SANDF is that the SANDF aren't really trained to deal with crime issues, with illegal miners and so forth. The Defence Minister has indicated that the soldiers, especially those in the engineering formation, will be useful when they need to go into mines and handle explosives and so forth. So there are useful skills that the SANDF can bring to the table. But soldiers aren't trained to be policemen, and their deployment is in support of the police. So the soldiers can't act by themselves. They always have to act in conjunction with the police. So what I find quite encouraging is not the announcement that we're getting more soldiers to fight crime and illegal mining, but that the police are recruiting more. So the police aim to have an extra 10,000 recruits added to their ranks every year for the next 3 years. So those 30,000 extra police, they will make, I would say, a far bigger difference to crime and security in South Africa than soldiers will, because they are trained to deal with things like normal criminality and illegal mining, cash in transit heists, and all the other issues that we've been seeing lately.
Well, Guy, there are a number of issues that you've raised around the presence of any number of soldiers. So whether it's 1,500 at any given time, as you've suggested, or it's the entire 3,000 plus the other 900 that have already been deployed. The one thing is that soldiers have a mandate. Do they have power to arrest civilians?
In certain circumstances they can, but the police, it's their responsibility to actually arrest someone and charge them and put that person through the legal system. Soldiers, essentially their role will be to support the police. They can function as backup. They can assist with cordon operations, search and seizure operations, and so forth. But ultimately, it's the police who need to be making those arrests and putting the criminals through the justice system themselves. The soldiers, they are there to augment, but a soldier shouldn't and couldn't really replace the police.
So maybe let's rewind a little bit and start at the top. What should be, how will this deployment be implemented in order for it to be effective? Because Thandi Modise has just said that it has to be, that it is going to be decisive. So let's look at that decisiveness, the introduction of 3,300 soldiers. How will they work with the police in any number of operations to rid the country of these illegal miners?
Well, if we look at previous SANDF deployments in support of the police, for instance, in Cape Town to fight gangs, the COVID-19 deployment where soldiers assisted police, how it will probably work is that the soldiers will be paired with members of the police and will probably help them with things like guarding, patrols, conducting operations, roadblocks, and the like. So there have to be very tight coordination. But we have been seeing quite major efforts by the police themselves to curb crime across the country. This Operation Chanela has yielded quite positive results, and thousands of suspects have been arrested in recent weeks. And we've also seen a lot of drug busts at the ports, many tens and hundreds of millions of rands worth of drugs being seized. So the police are really stepping up their game, and they are achieving quite good results in combating crime. So they're off to a good start, and I think the soldiers deployed to support them, they can keep that momentum going and they can assist them. But I don't think the SANDF by itself will decisively be able to sort out the Zama issue.
Now, you raise the issue of the police doing a great amount of work, but the thieves or the criminals are becoming more brazen. Now, only a few days ago, Minister Sindiswe Kunga and her team were accosted by these individuals, by these thugs, if you will. A few months ago, we also know that many of these Zamas were fighting the police. You know, they were running gun battles with the police. So it's not going to be a simple process of let's walk in and do this. Bearing in mind that intelligence that has been supplied by the police speaks of cartels. So it's not just regular individuals or Zamas that are going underground. You know, it's a cartel, which suggests that it is a systemic way of drawing these minerals from the ground and reaping benefit from it.
Absolutely. The real problem is serious levels of organized crime that have infiltrated the state, essentially. Especially under state capture, I think that reinforced a lot of these cartels and networks operating in South Africa. There was a recent report came out a few months ago that said South Africa is ranked third in Africa when it comes to levels of organized crime. And we are seeing that with the Zamas, we're seeing that with copper theft, with mineral theft, with the looting of the railways, and many other areas. So the levels of organized crime are absolutely fantastical. Eskom is another example. The coal syndicates, the coal mafias, they are wreaking enormous damage to the economy. It's been estimated that organized crime costs South Africa hundreds of billions of rands every year. So to root out all those organized crime networks is not going to be a quick process. It's not going to be an easy process. And if they are rooted out, you still have the systemic problems that result in a lot of less organized crime. You still have extremely high levels of poverty and inequality. And until those social conditions are improved, you're always going to have crime to some extent. And bringing in more police, more soldiers, it's putting a Band-Aid on the wound. If you really want to eliminate crime, you have to get to the root causes of a lot of this.
Nagai, very quickly, what are the estimated costs to the taxpayer of this initiative, getting 3,300 soldiers out there?
So the current deployment from the 28th of October until the 28th of April next year comes to just under R500 million. And it's not clear exactly how this will be funded, if this will come from Treasury, come from the police, or if the SANDF themselves will have to come up with this money. But just to break down what that figure is. So a lot of that money would be spent anyway on salaries, meals, and travel, and so forth. So it's not necessarily an extra R500 million that's going to be spent, but there will be some extra money that will have to come from somewhere to pay for this deployment.
Guy Martin, appreciate your time, and he's the editor at Defenceweb, unpacking for us the deployment of the 3,300 SANDF officials